Hello and welcome to the Brilliant People podcast by executive search firm Assertitude. On this show, we look at the ways leadership is evolving in our world and share stories from the most brilliant private equity executives, entrepreneurs, and leaders defining our times. I'm Linnea Jagnelias, Global Head of Marketing and Strategy at Assertitude, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Tiffany Lopinsky, co-founder and chief operating officer of ShopMy, and Kristen Warder, principal with TEG, an Assertitude company with a big focus on SaaS recruiting. ShopMy is a leading creator marketing platform which partners with notable beauty brands like Tatcha, Dior, and Elemis, and retailers like Nordstrom, Nike, and Lululemon. They recently hit an exciting milestone, raising $18.5 million to scale their network of 40,000 creators and 300 brand partners. We'll explore how ShopMy evolved from MIT research project to comprehensive MarTech tool and the talent strategy that powered that growth. Welcome, Tiffany, and welcome, Kristen.
Thank you, Linnea, and hi, Kristen. Really excited to be here.
Hi, Linnea and Tiffany. I'm excited to be here as well.
Tiffany, let's get right into the founding story. What inspired you to launch ShopMy together with Harry and Chris in 2020? And what was the need you collectively saw in the market?
So, all three of us have a little bit of a different version of the founding story just because we came into it all at different points. But for me, I had been working with Harry at another startup, and we had basically worked on this kind of storefront concept at the startup that was for consumers. It wasn't for content creators or influencers. And we'd always kind of had this feeling that this storefront thing was something that influencers would love. And Harry had ended up meeting Chris through an MIT connection. Chris was at MIT Sloan working on a business school project about social shopping. So how are people actually influenced to purchase things from social media? And his research was basically revealing something that's probably not surprising to a lot of us, that a lot of people are taking recommendations from influencers on Instagram. And there wasn't really a good place for influencers to showcase those products was kind of the core need that everything about ShopMy was founded on. So Chris and Harry got connected. Harry brought me into it because we were working together. He was the kind of lead engineer at the startup that we were at. I was a product manager, so working with engineers on building the product. And, I'm sure you guys have seen Amazon storefronts, other tools like that. There was not a tool that allowed people to just showcase all of the products that they were talking about, because there were gates around all of them. On the Amazon one, you could only showcase Amazon products. On the LTK one, you can only showcase LTK one. So we wanted to build something. The MVP of ShopMy was a place where you can showcase all of your favorite products. And it was really happening at a time where content creators, we had the era of bloggers where they had their own websites, but now is the wave of content creators who they don't have their own websites. They're just sharing things on TikTok, on Instagram, and they needed a place that was way easier to build and navigate than their own website. So that was the foundation of, what we started with from a product perspective. We basically interviewed and talked to hundreds of creators while Harry and I were actually still at our other company, and just starting to do market research, understand what were they looking for. And we learned a lot about affiliate tools in general. So for context, most content creators have two main revenue streams: flat fee being paid by a brand and affiliate earnings. So clicking on commissionable links and they earn commission. And we'd basically heard that they hate all of the tools that are in the market for affiliates. So we incorporated that into the storefront concept. Not only are we going to give you a place to showcase everything, we're also going to make this an affiliate tool for you and help you build up that revenue stream. So the concept has evolved so much. A lot of times we're asked, what was the idea? It was, so many things, and mostly learning from people on the way to get started.
Sounds like you did a lot of listening to the market and have continued to iterate and build from there, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs can resonate with.
Yeah, and then we basically raised a seed kind of friends and family round. And then we felt that we had enough confidence that there was a real market need for this, that we could do this full time. So we started just the three of us working on it. It was during COVID. I think it was just the three of us for maybe like 2 years. Hired our first person, eventually made it to Kristen a little while later.
Let's talk about that. So you raised a Series A round in November of 2022, and just recently you raised another 18.5 million. What made these the right inflection points for the business to bring on outside investors, and how did you go about it?
Yeah, so fortunately, Harry and I had the experience of another startup previously and learned so many valuable and incredible lessons, and I'm very grateful to that experience. I think the common thing that people think about like Series A versus a seed round, seed and family and friends is while you're finding product market fit. And then Series A is like when you start to scale. So we were really, really good like the first couple of years of just being very careful about what we're spending money on, really focus on building the product, maximizing everything that we could do. And before raising the Series A, we were at a point where we built a really solid offering on the creator side. Like people were loving the product. They were having a great experience. We're getting like rave reviews. They're introducing us to brands to join the platform. So I think we had almost 200 brands when we were raising the Series A, and we had brands paying for the service, and product market fit was definitely there. And it was clear brands were really wanting to invest in this channel and really appreciated the way that we were doing it. So we felt that we were at a point where having additional funds was really going to help us scale the business in a completely different way and in a way that was going to be really valuable to both sides of our platform. Like ultimately, our platform is a network. We built the creator side first and then introduced the brand side. And having that creator community is extremely valuable to the brands. Having the brands is very valuable to the creators. We'd also established at that point a process of acquiring brands and acquiring creators where we knew if we added more people, we could train them to replicate that and we could grow at a faster rate. So we were definitely at the point where raising capital made sense. And that's basically what we've done with it. We've used it to grow the team. And we're at the point I was saying where the thing that creators want the most from our platform isn't really a specific feature. It's adding more of the brands that they care about, which we need team members to work on. And for the brands, they love what we're doing. They want more content creators to gift to partner with, to work with in an affiliate capacity. And we need team members to work on that as well.
Totally. Kristen, this is your world you're very familiar with. You frequently partner with venture capital and private equity investors across every software and every SaaS segment. Curious to get your point of view on some of the traits that investors should place high emphasis on when assessing the quality of a management team during that due diligence phase.
I really believe there are a few traits that these PE and venture firms are looking for. And it's nice because they really dovetail into the same traits we're looking for in candidates. So they're really looking for founders to have a passion, tenacity, intuition, high EQ, and most importantly, agility. They need a passion, obviously, for the products they're producing and a passion for its growth. And being an entrepreneur clearly is not for the faint of heart. They are definitely told no more times than yes, probably more times than they can remember. So they must have that fortitude to handle objections, have the EQ to read different scenarios, and intuitively see the gaps so they can pivot when necessary.
From talking to so many VCs over the course of the past couple of years and ultimately being really happy with the firm that we just raised with, Inspired Capital, who have already been incredible partners to us. It was so interesting throughout the process, realizing how little they wanted to get to know us and get to know our product, one of the reasons I was really excited about Inspired Capital, even from our first conversations, is they spent the time really to get to know the founding team as well as really dig into the product. Like had multiple sessions of like learning about the product, the market. Like you do have to dig in. So many people have great ideas, but ultimately it's about how you're like reacting, implementing everything and that's happening. So yeah, it's interesting to see that, but very excited about what we ended up partnering with Inspired.
Yeah. And I think, Kristen, one of the things you touched on, right? Like different profiles for different types of companies. And there's people who are going to be those builders. There's people who are going to be those maintainers. And there's people who are going to be those transformers and change makers. And that get into more, turnaround and restructuring situations. And it's really about the fit.
It truly is. It is all about the fit, and it's unique to each search and hiring manager and actually the moment in time of that search. The elusive fit doesn't simply mean matching a resume to a job description. It's about that substantive experience, culture match, and intuition. Candidates for entrepreneurial searches must have the requisite experience, matched passion for the company's product and mission, and of course, intuitively pivot and pitch in when necessary. I heard Alexa Von Tobel, the founder and managing partner of Inspired Capital, mention this on a podcast. She learned early on in life, if you want to hang out, you've got to keep up. I think this truly exemplifies the types of candidates we are looking for these entrepreneurial searches.
And one of the reasons I think she's really good at what she does is she has the experience of building a company herself, which a lot of VCs don't. And Harry and I especially were really excited about that, working with someone who has the experience of operating a business and growing it. And, ultimately she sold it, but she just has incredible insight because of that and ability to evaluate potential investments.
I mean, this level, right? It's all about scaling and maturing and systematizing and directing investments in building those products, the teams, and accelerating go-to-market strategies. Tiffany, also curious, talk to us a little bit more in detail about how you put your growth capital to work and if you could map out your journey of scaling the business up until this point for us.
So our story of growing the company and the network was we started specifically in one vertical. We started in beauty, not because any of us had experience necessarily there. Like we now do and have learned really so much about beauty brands and content creators, but there was a white space there. And those creators were really underserved on a tool set like this. So we initially built the network by getting some really great content creators that brands were going to be excited about, using those content creators to get more brands that they were going to be excited to partner with. And we had this kind of aha moment when we worked with a brand that a lot of beauty content creators love. They didn't set up a program on any other platform. We were the only platform that they were working with. So we were able to go pitch content creators saying, we have this brand. And they're like, whoa, you're the only platform where I can generate affiliate links to this brand. And they were joining because of that. And we were like, wow, we can use getting really great brand partners to help us do the creator side as well. So we had kind of figured that out. So now raising capital, basically the main thing we've used it on is expanding the team to replicate that exact process of like acquiring brands to get creators, but in different verticals and different subsegments of creators. After raising the Series A, we hired more engineering talent so that we could continue to level up the feature set. We released our mobile app. We released a feature called Lookbooks. Basically, what it allows brands to do is seed products. So every consumer brand is gifting product to influencers. It allows them to do that very easily and quickly by like automatically placing orders on their site. So we were able to hire a team to help us build and then more importantly, like evangelize the concept to brands and content creators across industries. After raising the Series A, we also started our expansion into lifestyle, fashion, home. So growing the team to support that was really key.
And look, Tiffany, speaking of the team, right? Many of the founders of venture and growth stage startups that I speak with are right at that point where they know they need to hire differently to unlock that next stage of growth, but maybe have until this point relied on networks, some contingency firms. And I'd love to know, in your view, what's been the value of partnering with a third party retained search firm like TEG to ramp up your hiring efforts and really professionalize how you go about identifying, attracting, and onboarding talent?
It's been really huge for us, mostly because from a time saving perspective, and we're very, very hands on as leaders of the company. We're selling brands, we're building product, and it takes a lot of time, as you guys know, to find good people. And something I've learned from the process is you can look at someone's resume or LinkedIn. You really don't know until you talk to them. And it just takes so much time to get through all those candidates. So working with a firm to help us do that has been essential to our growth. And I feel like we got really lucky with TEG because I felt like we were really on the same page of the types of people we were looking for. At a startup, things are changing all the time. Roles are changing, teams are changing. You need people who ultimately they know that it's their job to understand the goals of the company and figure out a way to help achieve those goals. And it may not look exactly like what the job description said, but they're excited about contributing to it. And I feel like Kristen and TEG really understood that and helped us find really great people. And, I feel like there's some roles that we had open for 6 months that we just had to keep going through to find the right person. But ultimately it was worth the time and effort to do that.
Kristen, let's get into the case study here and the lessons that you guys have learned together. And what were the talent needs you identified at ShopMy, and how did you go about finding the right people?
It's always a collaboration. It's so imperative to get in deep with the founders to understand their culture, their ethos, what's going to make them successful. It's not a straight line, and it has evolved, and it's been a great journey, and I feel fortunate to have been on it to see them go through this massive hockey stick growth. The founders, Tiffany, Harry, and Chris, came to us with a really exciting challenge. And like many of our clients, they were a small company and still are in an emerging space. And with a company like this, our first step is to do a deep dive, really understand our clients' talent needs, as well as their competitors and the value proposition. And it became quite clear how unique ShopMy's value prop was. There were some competitors that offered pieces of what their SaaS platform offered. However, there was no competitor. I still have yet to find someone who completely covers the full funnel of talent discovery, engagement, collaboration, and tracking/analytics that ShopMy offers. So we need to discover talent that understood the changing landscape of digital marketing and how creator marketing fit into that. And we needed to find people that were excited about that. And no matter what we're doing, what SaaS software or what startup we're working with, we want to know what makes them unique. Honestly, part of my job is sales, selling people on this new company they have yet to hear of, and SaaS products that focus on different stages. So what we did was we broke it down and looked at the different stages of that creator marketing journey and what were their competitors of those stages. Part of our best practice is to get multiple referrals. I mean, anybody can look online and find a LinkedIn profile that might fit. But until you talk to thought leaders, as they did when they started with beauty and talking to a thought leader like Dr. Idris, we talked to thought leaders on the creator space and realized, just like Tiffany, Chris, and Harry, these creators are entrepreneurs themselves and need to be celebrated in that. And we needed people with that kind of passion. So no matter what the search we're doing, we want to find the best people, and we do find the best people from referrals. This is something I would suggest to every company that that's where you should start. The deep dive, talk to thought leaders, talk to referrals, and then go back to the founders. What we do is a calibration call, and we hone in on that ideal candidate profile for every search that we're doing. And different competencies and agility, you learn, and we learned, and we plugged that into the model for ShopMy. And we constantly iterate to get better. As I say to candidates and clients, no phone call should be a wasted phone call. You should learn something from every phone call. That connection point points you in that right direction.
What I'm hearing is spend the time up front, get to know the companies so that with that full understanding of where the organization is today, more importantly, where it's going, connecting with the team and building that trust, building that value proposition that you're going to bring to candidates to attract the very best is so critical, and having that story fully baked. Kristen, also curious about, look, you've done a lot of work here at ShopMy and also other projects that are very similar with SaaS startups as they go from early stage to growth stage. At this kind of juncture in the company's journey, what are some of the more frequent talent gaps? And could you speak to some of the lessons that would help other entrepreneurs staff up effectively?
Absolutely. And to your point, yes, I like to go deep. And my biggest compliment is when I'm talking to candidates that they think I actually work there. And I do think for ShopMy, as well as any growing, scaling company, you need to be agile and you need to be in the market and feel like you work there and be invested as if you work there. And that's what I want my clients to feel. I want to be a partner and help my clients to see the talent gaps. I learned from conducting 30, 60, 90-day reviews with the candidates we place. We don't just say, here you go, and walk away. Talent gaps arise as companies grow and scale. And I do think they're all unique. One general gap I've encountered during multiple searches is getting that timing right of when to bring in people who aren't only building in the business, but people in operations to put processes in place to scale the business.
Yeah.
So with our talent selection, we're always looking for people who have a record of success that can complement what is there and add to the tableau. Paramount, when we're filling those gaps, they have to have that same passion or they're not going to be a culture match. And we want to make sure that when we're adding, that's the way we're adding. And the gaps really arise when probably there are people coming in who don't have that shared history and they need a roadmap and they need a process. And I think that's where we find the gaps. And together we come up with, you know what, I think this is what we need now.
And hearing Kristen kind of describe that side of it just makes me think of how the challenge of like filling a role and what that looks like is so different at the stage we're at now than when we started working with TG. And especially at that beginning stage, you know, now we're more out there. We have a bigger team. We're working with more creators and brands, so more people have heard of us. But at the beginning, when we're just getting started, it is like Kristen was saying, recruiting is like such a sales thing. You have to pitch the company and no one is going to be interested simply from the name. So it is about communicating that to them. And, you know, like I was saying before, it's a lot of work, but finding people who get excited by the mission. To all of our best teammates at the company, they're all just genuinely excited about what we're building, the needs that the product is solving, and they're excited to be a part of that. And I feel like that's something Kristen and TEG have understood and helped us find people like that.
Tiffany, when we first started working together, You partnered with 200 brands and 7,500 influencers, and today you're working with more than 300 brands and 40,000 influencers. Clearly, you're doing something right. How have you differentiated ShopMy, and what is it about the platform that really resonates with influencers and with brands?
I think one of the most important things that differentiates us from other SaaS platforms that consumer companies might be using is we started with the creator side of the platform first. We built and continue to build a tool set for them. So part of our offering is both access to these content creators and then ability to work with them and make it way easier to work with them. So that is like a really unique feature that makes it way easier for the brands because we already have 40,000 engaged content creators. So they're responding faster. They're excited to work together. So that's a really important differentiator. And, there's also changes happening in the industry that, are contributing to our growth. One of them is historically brands over the past couple of years, they've been investing in the influencer channel, rightfully so. I think everyone agrees that these content creators are influencing purchases, but there hasn't been a really good way to track what's going on. Like a lot of people in the industry have felt that there's kind of like a bubble of like you're flying blind. And because there wasn't really a tool set for them to track it in a better way, part of what we're trying to do and our pitch to brands is there's an educational component of it of like not everyone is at the point of looking at how they're working with influencers in the way that ShopMy works, but more and more brands are getting to that. Most other marketing channels, they're more systematic, with AdWords, with Facebook, you can put money in and you get something out. With influencer, it's very different. What we're trying to bring to the market is creating more of a system and making it more systematic so that you can approach it in more of a way that like makes sense and, is ROI focused. So that factor is contributing a lot to the growth as well. So as more brands are learning that they should be approaching it a little bit differently than how they are, the tool set has resonated with them.
To your point, there's been a lot of change in the space, and influencer marketing and the omnichannel digital space has been totally transformative, particularly B2C, but also increasingly in the B2B space. And, we're seeing marketers significantly increase their spend in this category. Having been at the forefront of this evolution, what are the trends shaping the space, and what's the growing influence of AI in all of this?
In terms of like the trends of what I was speaking to before, I think historically, if you're a consumer brand, you need to gift to content creators, or even if you're not a consumer brand, you need to be providing someone with a complimentary experience for them to review and talk about it. And what the tracking of that has looked like in the industry is oftentimes working with a PR firm and them simply coming back to you and reporting, we got the product into the hands of these 100 people and their total following size is this, but it does not touch upon who actually posted about the product we gifted to them, who's driving sales, who's converting for you the best so that you can optimize what you're doing. And so many brands, especially these luxury brands, they're giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars of product and they truly don't know how it's impacting their business. And I think people are starting to realize they can't really do that anymore. There has to be a better way. So that is part of the need that ShopMy is fulfilling and a lot of brands are trying to fix. And I think the AI piece is, most importantly, just helping us do things like better and faster and smarter. We use AI to help our brands like generate recommendations on who they should gift to, taking into account, okay, these people have converted for you, using AI to facilitate recommendations of like these 30 influencers look similar to the people who you gifted to and promoted you. So these are our like suggested group of talent for you to gift to next. So the smartest companies are kind of like taking advantage of that And we incorporate it not just into the product, but into like everything we do in terms of using ChatGPT to help us like be more efficient about our day-to-day operations.
Exactly. I think I have a window open with ChatGPT every day next to
Yeah.
everything I'm doing. But that's a great use case of AI.
Mhm.
So thanks for giving that case study. And in light of where the market is moving, Kristen, what are the talent implications tied to all of this? And is there anything you think companies should think about in terms of readying their teams for the future?
I think readying your team is an interesting way to think about it because some of the things you need to do is almost counterintuitive to rapid growth. It's easy to get wrapped up in this rapid growth and it's exciting and there's so many things going on and it's a fun ride or, it's a good chaos, as it were. This is a time when companies need to take a beat, even though they're moving so fast and need to keep moving so fast and focus on the employee experience because there are great employees that help them get there. And they want to make sure they're continuing to grow and think about succession planning and onboarding new people and multiple different things. And ShopMy did take that beat and they were so smart to say, this is the time to hire ahead of people. And they did that this year. And that person is focusing on that process. And that person came from the outside and has big company experience and small company experience. And the founders are busy growing the business and building and then they can have an individual that can say, you know what, I've seen this before and this could be helpful. And that brings back in that EQ that founders need.
Exactly. Taking stock of where you are again. And I think you made a great point there too that I want to emphasize, which is hiring someone for this type of space that maybe has that perfect and strategic combination of big company and small company. Because I think that's right where a lot of people see others fail, right? Is they hire somebody out of a big shiny brand. They come in where they have to be so hands-on, roll up their sleeves and, many times stumble. And so that's a great point you made about finding those candidates who've done that one step away and gotten that job and then maybe come into a brand like this. So, Tiffany, how do you keep your own leadership skills sharp?
A couple of things. I think most importantly, and it's very representative of the ShopMy culture, being on the front lines is probably the number one thing I do to keep my leadership skills sharp. I'm a very strong believer in more of a lead by doing approach than by saying or telling people what to do. So I'm still on a weekly basis talking to brands, talking to influencers, responding to customer service chats. Like I still get the notifications on my phone. And I genuinely believe that people are everything to building a company. And how would I be able to help them do their jobs better, help us decide what we should focus on if I'm not in touch with what people are doing every day? And I also think that means a lot to the team and the people we are working with, that I'm willing to like go deep, help them figure something out, figure out how we can do better. And they trust what I say more because I've also done it. So we have 4 main teams at ShopMy. We have brand growth, brand success, creator growth, creator success. And I genuinely spend time functioning as one of those like kind of 4 competencies every week. And I feel like that is what, keeps me sharp. And the other one would be asking for feedback constantly keeps me, developing as a person and leader. So I try to ask people how I could do something better, how I could pitch a brand better, how I could help a creator in a certain way that would resonate more with them. And, Kristen, Harry, he's not the kind of person you have to ask for feedback. He just gives it to you. So him and I have definitely, had a great relationship where we can work together and help each other improve and, ultimately having a different balance of the 3 of us co-founders are very different, both in our approach and just kind of who we are, our personalities and in our skill sets. So that has been really important to building the business and to the 3 of us staying sharp together.
I love those philosophies. Lead by doing, ask for feedback. Are there any leaders that are inspiring you lately? Or like any books, podcasts, quotes that you draw inspiration from?
I love the stories of Guy Raz, How I Built This, similar to what I was saying about, our conversation about VCs. And one of the reasons we love working with Inspired is they're a group of like builders, and every business is unique. So reading the help books that are just very general don't help me as much as just hearing one full story for an hour. So I really love that podcast, and I feel like I take insights from there all the time.
That is a great show. I've probably listened to every episode on there at some point too.
Yeah.
In each episode, we like to finish with a fun lightning round of questions, Tiffany. So please fill in the blanks. Purpose
is the driving force behind what we're doing every day. It goes beyond just the building a business aspect. It's about filling a void and creating value in the market.
Leadership
is the embodiment of the phrase, actions speak louder than words.
Great answer. Success
is creating genuine value and feeling proud of your work.
3 adjectives. Brilliant leaders are.
Brilliant leaders are dedicated, resilient, and empathetic.
I perform at my best when.
I perform at my best when I'm surrounded by hardworking, smart, and excited people.
Thank you to Tiffany Lopinsky of ShopMy and Kristen Mortar at our sister company, TEG Consulting, for joining us on today's episode. I hope all of you walk away inspired to scale your teams and leverage influencers to accelerate the growth of your companies. And thanks to you, our listeners, for tuning in. That's it for this episode of the Brilliant People Podcast. I'm Linnea Jungnelius. If you found this conversation valuable, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show. And follow Assertitude and TEG Consulting on LinkedIn for the latest insights on how to perform at your best. Until next time, stay brilliant at work.